All right, everyone, thanks for your patience. I've just gotten the thumbs up that we're ready to begin our meeting. So welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting for the Whitefish Community Development Board. It's July 17th, 2025, and just after 6 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call to order. And the first item on our agenda is to appoint a chair and a vice chair for this board. So I will open nominations for chair.
I would like to nominate Whitney for chair.
Second.
All right, we've had a motion and a second. Any other nominations? Okay, so everyone in favor of Whitney for chair, raise your hand. All right, so it passes unanimously. Thank you all. I will stay in this seat. And now we'll vote for vice chair, opening nominations for that.
I would like to nominate Toby Scott to serve as vice chair.
I'll second. Okay. And any other nominations? Toby's good? Yeah?
I'm good with it.
Okay, so all in favor of Toby Scott for vice chair? Passes unanimously. We're so agreeable. All right, so moving on, does anyone have any changes that they would like to make to our packed agenda tonight? Seeing none, make it shorter. We're going to try to take care of you guys that have been here for so long. All right, so the next thing is approval of the June 19th, 2025 minutes.
Make a motion to approve minutes as drafted.
All right, and a second?
I second the motion.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion,
I'll recuse because I wasn't here.
okay, thank you, Becky. Okay, motion passes. And next, we will have communications from the public that are not on the agenda. So if this is, anyone in the public has something to come up and speak to us about that's not on the agenda tonight, come up to the podium and tell us your name and address and go ahead. All right, we don't have anybody online tonight. Okay. All right, any unfinished business? I don't see any. Okay, none. All right, we'll go ahead and open our public hearings. We have two variance requests. The first is WZV 25-04, and this is a request by the Evans for a variance, and we'll hear from McDonald on this.
Good evening. So this property is requesting a variance to 20% lot coverage and a 20-foot front setback. The property was annexed into the city early in 2024 and rezoned from Flathead County Sag 10 to Whitefish County residential. The applicants are proposing for a new single-family home and an attached garage. The original lot is substandard for WCR zoning, which is why they've come forth today to request the 20-foot setback and 20% lot coverage. We conducted public noticing on April 2nd, and then as well as April 29th and 23rd, we had published a notice in the Daily Interlake and sent out advisory agency notices. It was found in the staff report that the application did meet all of the findings and criteria. Some of the findings included the regulations do limit the reasonable use of the property. Strict compliance with the terms of the regulations would deprive the applicants of rights enjoyed by other residential lots in this area. The hardship results from circumstances over which the applicant has no control over. The hardship is unique to the applicant's property due to circumstances beyond their control. The hardship was not created by the applicant. The applicant is not claiming economic hardship. The proposed variance request will not negatively impact the neighboring properties, and granting the variance will not adversely affect the public or the neighboring properties, as said in the prior. Applicant has demonstrated that the requested variance is the minimum necessary to alleviate the hardship, and granting the variance will not confer a special privilege. I have passed out, oh, sorry. Alrighty, can you hear me? Okay, yep, I can hear the difference. Thank you. So I passed out presentations to each of you. It should be the WZV 25-04. So we'll just briefly go over that together. On that first page, you can see that there is the property line in red. The next shows the zoning setbacks applied with WCR zoning in green. You can see that some of the existing structures are crossing that line. Then on the third page is a hashed green area showing the buildable area within the current zoning regulations in place on that lot. Number 4 shows the existing lot coverage. There is a guest house ADU on the lot. So that currently occupies 4% of the lot coverage. Number 5 demonstrates what the 10% lot coverage would allow for the property. This 10% is from WCR zoning. And then finally, in number 6, it shows what they're proposing. It shows what the proposed setback would be. The lot coverage would be about 20%. And aligns with what they're requesting. The substandard lot creates some constraints on how they can build, where they can build. And so this is generally demonstrating that this is the minimum that they need to be able to make the lot buildable and a home for their family. Do you have any questions for me?
All right, thank you, Lauren. Anyone have questions for Lauren on this? Becky, go ahead.
Yeah, I just was, in the packet, it said that it's wholly surrounded by county.
Correct.
So are we leapfrogging utilities then?
I believe
How
you-
does that work with grandfathering someone that's closer to the city?
So what happened was, I believe back in 2022, this family had purchased the property. They had a septic failure, and because of that, they went to the county. The county requested, or they went to the county requesting a new septic permit. County denied this, so then they had to come to the city of Whitefish to request to get connected to our utilities. At that time, we said that they would need to be annexed and become part of the city of Whitefish in order to receive utilities. That's a standard that we have for annexation. And so in that process, they came in, and because they are generally surrounded as WCR and aligned with the growth policy as that way out there, that's how they got the assignment of the current zoning. However, despite it not meeting minimum lot size regulations for WCR zoning. Yeah.
Any other questions of staff? All right. So at this time, we will open the public hearing and hear from the applicant if you'd like to come up and address us. I know you guys have been here a couple times, so please come up if you'd like to. Thank you.
My name's Bevan Evans. I live at 485 Armory Road. My wife Haley and I are the owners, and I fully support what she said. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, go ahead, Rebecca.
I love the design of the garage, so I think your neighbors will be really happy that you're building out there. But I just a little bit worried about the curve, and if you're worried about safety being closer to the road, or
It's currently where my deck is on the house is pretty much in line with where the garage is going to go. And there's a whole wall of trees.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if anyone else would like to comment on this variance, come up now. Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearing and go to a motion from the board.
Excuse me, I move to approve WZV 25-04 as outlined with the conditions of variance as proposed by the staff.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion, or Toby, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, I think that the lot, everything looks good. The fact that you were annexed in and put in a WCR, which has completely different setback requirements than what you had in the county, was an unfortunate set of circumstances, and tonight I think we can rectify that so you can continue on.
All right, any further discussion? John, go ahead.
Well, I discussed this briefly last time. I'm looking at the 10% law. So 2129 square feet for a site. And two-story structure is going to be 4,100 feet. Oh, sorry. Always something. And so I have concerns that this does not meet the minimum exceedance of the zoning requirement for a variance. So,
Any further discussion? All right, I'll just add that I looked up the resolution that was passed when you guys annexed, and it was interesting to me and pretty clear. The resolution says, whereas a proposed city zoning district, WCR, authorizes land uses comparable to the land uses authorized by Flathead County zoning. And I think even though this looks very different, you guys annexed out of necessity. And to me, you meet all of these variance requirements, so I'll support this. Any other discussion?
I guess I just echo what you said, and observe that moving from a failed septic system to a city hookup, in my mind, is a good, compelling reason to do this. I'm not 100% sure I understand, John, what your minimum, the variance requested is the minimum variance that will alleviate the hardship. I think it was number 7. Is that the one you were concerned about meeting?
I think it's number 9, minimum exceedance of the zoning requirements.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I think it's number 9. The last one.
Special, what goes 8, granting a variance will not confer a special privilege.
No?
I'm looking on page
He's
6 of
looking at-
7 of the staff report.
He's looking at finding number 9, I think, that's under 8 that you're looking at.
Finding 9 under 8.
Yeah, on page 6 of 7.
That would be the special privilege denied? No. I'm not following where you're looking at, John. On the
Well, I
staff
don't have the
report?
staff report in front of me, but I read it last month,
Okay,
and my impression was that this project didn't meet the requirement that a variance must be to the minimum exceedance of zoning requirements.
so you're suggesting
has
it should
to
be a
be-
smaller footprint?
Yes. They had 2,600 feet to build on. I reviewed this with the architect. I asked him some questions.
Okay. I don't know if this, Lauren has any, I think, was this diagram that you presented? It sounded to me like that was in support of staff recommendation that it is the minimum required. Could you explain that to me again so that I understand?
That is correct. So what is shown on slide 5 or page 5 is what lot coverage they have available at 10% if they are following WCR regulations. And to be able to, the minimum the request that they are asking for is 17% lot coverage, which is shown on page 6, if that answers your question.
Does that answer your question, John?
I think I understand it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I disagree. I think it doesn't meet the minimum exceedance.
Because it should be a smaller square footprint overall?
Yes, they don't need much of a variance, if any, because they have enough area to build on already.
So we'll just spend a couple more minutes, if anybody else wants to jump in here, but then we'll go ahead and take a vote on this. And reminding everyone that, for affirmative, we'll give them the variance. So, any other discussion? Okay, so all in favor of granting this variance, raise your hand. Okay, opposed? Okay, note that Heberling opposes. Your variance is granted. You can come back next month just to see us if you want. All right, thank you.
Or go to the city council meeting in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah, that too. Thank you. All right. So one variance down and on to variance number 2 for the night. This is WZV 25-05. This is a request by the Lambs for a variance, and we will hear from McDonald for this also.
Alrighty, thank you. So for the land variance, this is the property at 415 Columbia Avenue. The applicant is proposing to replace a deteriorated home on 2 substandard lots that generally does not conform with the single-family residence currently on site. The applicant seeks relief from the side yard setback and lot coverage requirements from the WR2 zoning district. We provided noticing for this request on May 29th by mail to the neighbors, as well as advisory agency on May 30th, and finally legal publishing and the Whitefish pilot on June 4th. In total, we received 5 comments. 4 comments have been received, 1 in opposition and 3 in support of this request. It was generally found within the staff report that the application did meet all of the requirements of a variance request. For finding 1, we found that the regulations do limit the reasonable use of the property. Strict compliance within the terms of the regulations would deprive the applicant of rights enjoyed by other residential lots in the area. The hardship is a result of circumstances over which the applicant has no control over. The hardship is particular to the property and its lots within the Whitefish original town site. The houses have been built over prior current zoning and substandard lots over interior lot lines before current ownership. The hardship was not created by the applicant. They are not claiming economic hardship, and granting the variance would not adversely affect the neighboring properties or public, as well as it would not confer a special privilege denied to other similar properties in the same district. Overall, they are requesting the setbacks. Currently, the existing house encroaches 7.5 feet into the north side yard and even crosses the property line. The proposal would reduce that impact, maintaining a 5-foot 10-inch setback on the north side and a 6-foot setback on the south, an improvement over the existing conditions. While not included in the original application, the new home will exceed 40% lot coverage limit, coming closer to 46% once combined with the existing garage. Several surrounding properties, including 403, 409 Columbia, also have exceeding lot thresholds. I also created another presentation for you guys this evening. It would be that second packet that you received. On that first page, you can see where the property line is. You can see a little bit where that porch does exceed over the northern property line. On the second page, we can see the existing home and existing garage on site. Page number 3 shows WR2 zoning setbacks applied to this lot. Number 4 clearly demonstrates that that is the buildable area, giving a 20-foot wide buildable area with 85 feet in depth to the lot. Page number 5 also shows where 40% lot coverage would occur, or how much that would take up of the lot. So then finally bring us to number 6, showing where the proposed home area is, how much lot cover it will exceed onto the lot, and just kind of giving you a more visual take on this. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Thank you, Lauren. Anyone have questions for Lauren? All right. Seeing no questions of the staff, we'll, oh, go ahead, Toby.
Is there any requirement that a house in that neighborhood be framed, stick-built, as they say?
No requirement for such a thing.
Okay, so a modular home is perfectly acceptable.
Yes.
Okay, figured as much.
All right, any further questions? Scott?
Maybe one. So the total square footage of the proposed home area and lot coverage, is that roughly equivalent to the total buildable area, but just a different configuration, or is it more or less?
It is more. So let's see here. So from the calculations I had done, the proposed home, along with the existing garage, is 5,000 square feet, a little over that, which would equal to a 40% 6 lot coverage, whereas where that blue line indicated on page 6 indicates a 40%. It would look a little bit reconfigured, but it is still more lot coverage than 40%.
Okay.
All right, any further questions? Okay, so we'll, go ahead, John.
I think last month there was mention that you're limited as to the sizes that you can get on houses, so that you pick the one that fits most closely here?
So John, right now, we'll just ask the staff, and then we'll
Okay.
move to the applicant in just a moment,
Maybe that's, okay.
which Lauren may know this also. Yeah, you can ask Lauren.
I am not familiar with this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we'll wait for the applicant for that. All right, so no further questions of staff. Thank you, Lauren. And we'll go ahead and open public comment, and first we'll hear from the Lambs, if you guys would like to come up as applicants.
So I'm Frank Lamb, and I live at 415 Columbia Avenue. All I really want to say is that from the staff report, it really seemed more thorough than what I could explain on what it is that we're trying to do with the property. A couple things that I would like to add is that with the home that we're building, the existing home, the entryways are on the side of the building on the north and south. With the home that we build, the entryways will be in the front and the back. So we'll be able to get rid of the porch that exceeds the lot on the north side, and then the existing foundation, and the same thing on the south. The home is going to be a little more than a couple hundred square feet than what the existing home is, but it's going to be going back more and not out on the sides. And we're also, when we tear down the house and then put in the foundation, we'll be able to get rid of the existing sewer line that I think is more than likely one of the older sewer lines that I remember a year or two ago getting a notice from the city that it might be old. And I've been in the property for over 20 years, so I'm pretty sure it is old. So my understanding is that when we tear down the existing house and then put on the home, we'll be doing all new sewer lines and, the water. So we'll be able to take care of that also, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. And John, do you have a question now for the
Yeah, I
applicant?
think last month, it was mentioned that you had to pick sizes of fabricated house. And you picked the one that most easily fit the lot lines?
Well, not so much most easily fit as much as this width of the home, there was more variety. A lot of these homes that we're going with, they're kind of meant to be sideways kind of thing, instead of lengthwise. But there were a couple that are longer and narrower that you're able to have the front and rear entries. And then this one in particular too, we're gonna have an 8-foot porch out in front of the house that faces the road there. So it's just overall the right visual and, the best that we thought that would be, nice for the property. And again, it's a modular home. It comes in 2 pieces. We had Harmon Crane come and look and said that it wouldn't be a problem to put it there. It sits on a foundation. It's not a mobile home. You've seen the couple pictures. It's a nice place, and it's in our price range. So, yeah, that's why we're doing it, or proposing to do it.
All right, thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions for
One
Frank?
quick-
Okay, Scott, thanks.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I believe there was one comment submitted in opposition. Did you have any response to that?
Yeah, I read that comment a couple times. I guess the one comment that I would say about it was that the person thought that it was going to be a mobile home, and it's not. Again, it's a modular home that comes in 2 pieces, that sits on a foundation, and we are hoping to get the okay to do this because this is a home that if and when we get to go, they can build this in 8 weeks. So we can get rid of the home, take care of the property, and fingers crossed, we would love to be in this home this fall. We love the neighborhood, we love our neighbors, it's just, everything about it is right for us. But yeah, we, like all of us, would love to. The home was great. The home was great for a long time, but it's old, 1947. It needs to be tore down. The garage is good. It's a great 2-car garage. We're going to leave it. But yeah, we're hoping to get this so that we can take care of the eyesore.
So when you were talking about the sewer line earlier, was the term you were searching for like clay tiles type?
That's exactly what I believe it was a clay tile, and again, without getting under there, I have over the last few years had sewer issues, which were again part of the reason why we are trying to move on. The way I understand it is that when you tear down, you can just leave that and move on, kind of thing, and that's kind of what we would do, is abandon it, I guess is what they say, and then bring in new sewer into the city through the alleyway there.
Which would be much less prone to failure, obviously.
Right, exactly, more of a direct route, because the way it is now, it goes at an angle and it's actually underneath a corner of the garage, and, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
just as soon abandon it.
Understood. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak publicly about this? Member of the public? All right, so we will close the public comment and turn to the board for a motion.
I move that the variance be approved.
I'll second it.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the variance. Any discussion on this? Okay, go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh, okay.
Speak to it.
Well, this is a classic example of where a variance is really appropriate. They've done everything they can to fit the new building to the buildable area, and they've dealt with some pretty unusual lot restrictions, and I think it really fits. So this is a good one.
All right, thank you, John. Rebecca?
I have some friends who had a modular home out on Farm to Market, and it was really, really nice. So I hope all your dreams come true.
I just have one comment. From the looks of the new structure with the front door in front, are you going to be ready for Halloween? Because you're in the middle of it. You're in the middle of it on Columbia Avenue.
All right, so we'll go ahead and take a vote. Everyone in favor of approving this variance, raise your hand.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. Congratulations. Yay.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Thanks for coming back 3 times.
Thanks.
And if you want to come next month, you're welcome.
Come on back.
Don't drum up business, you guys. You guys are busy enough.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. All right. Making people happy. That's what we do. Legally, yes. All right, so we'll move on to now our recommendation items. Item number 3 on our agenda today is WPUD 25-01, and this is a request by Carol Whitefish Investments LLC, and it's requesting a 4th amendment to the approved PUD, and we'll hear from Wendy for this.
All right, good evening. So yes, this is the fourth PUD amendment. So some of you may
Your
have...
mic?
Is it on? Am I on?
There it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think it's on. It's not on though, is it? Can you hear me? No. Okay, I'll use this other one then. So some of you may be familiar with this project. It's at the north end of Caro Avenue. It was originally I don't remember now what it was called. Idaho Timber, thank you. And over the years, it's been the subject of our Highway 93 West corridor plan, as an opportunity to, like a redevelopment site. So over the years, council and the planning board and now the community development board have reviewed various iterations. Starting in 2018, there was a subdivision with a PUD overlay, kind of identifying the range of uses and the lot layout and the road layout. And then over the years, the project has been just sort of refined. I think, with more information and more knowledge of what would actually work there. Different PUDs have come in. There was an amendment to the subdivision back in 2022 that again further refined the lot layout and the open space layout. And so again, this is now the 4th refinement, or maybe the 5th refinement when you consider all the subdivisions. So the current request, and then I will just point out too that in March of this year, the council approved final plat for the project. So now the roads and the lots and everything actually exists. The lots can be sold and built on, and building permits. We are holding a subdivision improvement agreement. There's some final items that need to be resolved that are supposed to be done by the end of the year. That includes a trail along the river. There's a bridge proposed. There's a bunch of landscaping and restoration. We're also holding a bond for traffic intersection signal at 2nd and Caro. So there's still some outstanding items to be completed with this project. So the request for this particular amendment is to move the project to a more residential type of development by increasing the number of residential units from 97 to a maximum of 150. These units will either be long-term rental or for sale. They will not be short-term rentals. The hotel will still remain. The project, instead of the marketplace that was kind of in the center of the project, is going to be an extensive recreational amenity for the folks that live there and the hotel guests. So while the various commercial uses will still be a permitted use on the site, they're most likely going to be mostly replaced by residential. But perhaps over time, if they find that, gosh, we really do need some of these commercial aspects that were originally approved, they could convert the residential to those. But at this point, that's not what the plan is. So they are, in addition to asking for more residential, they're asking for a few more zoning deviations. And one of those is to apply the WT3 building height across the entire project. And this was a standard that kind of came out of that Highway 93 West plan, where you could build to a little higher building height if you had a steeper pitch roof instead of all flat roofs. So I included a little graphic showing where the threshold was, and then everything that's a little bit taller, they could go up to 42 feet. Lot 3, which is kind of along the river, sort of right about where the bend is. For some reason, we didn't include that when we increased the lot coverage. All the other lots are able to have a higher building footprint, and that was kind of part of some of the original stuff. But the WT3 did require conditional use permits when building footprints exceeded 3,500. So we're just sort of, I mean, it's kind of more of a housekeeping item, but that was one thing that the applicant was able to catch, so that was a good catch. They'd like to apply the current parking standards across the site. Back in 2018, when we first approved this project, our parking requirements were quite a bit different. It was like 2.33 spaces per unit, where now we have like the studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom parking standards. And so that isn't really technically a deviation because we do review parking at the time of building permits. So they would just fall under the current standards right now. But there's quite a bit of parking on that site. You'll recall there's a pretty significant parking on the west side that was also shared for the Great Northern Peace Park, Ryan Zinke's kind of open space area over there. The other item they want is flexibility of the uses across the site. And again, while this isn't a zoning deviation, it's just a good thing to acknowledge. I think as they're working their way through all the different, where the buildings ought to finally end up, they may find that the hotel's better, on a different lot versus where it has been proposed for the last bunch of years. So that is essentially the project. I've listed out the different zoning deviations that have been approved over the years. Those would continue to move forward with this project. They don't go away. They're continuing to provide community benefits, including the public trail along the river, access to the Whitefish River. They were going to have a dock that was going to be open to the public. The access to the open spaces was all going to be open to the public, and then the public parking for the Great Northern Veterans Peace Park. Just yesterday, we got updated ownership information, so that'll go with the council's packet, but there is a new owner. They're kind of in the middle of changing ownership here. The people that applied is now sold to somebody new, but just FYI. So when it goes to council, you'll know that there's a new owner there. Under existing land use, of course, it was a former industrial site. Now it's just vacant lots with a road around it. It's surrounded by the railroad, residential, the Veterans Peace Park. It's served by all public services and facilities. We did notice the adjacent landowners post the full application on the webpage. We didn't receive any comments. I think the neighbors know this is happening since we've been working on it for almost a decade now. We do review PUDs according to the criteria in the zoning regulations. And a lot of the stuff has already been addressed because it was kind of part of the original plan. They aren't making any changes to the environmentally sensitive areas. There was a river buffer. It had been, significantly altered, and a lot of fill had been removed. And so they have a pretty extensive restoration plan along the river. There's no changes to the wildlife habitat. There's, kind of a restoration area again along the river. The open spaces are unchanged from all the original plans. It's about 62% of the project. It's pretty extensive, the open space area. So that includes the river buffer and the trail. There's kind of interesting little open spaces inside the development for folks that are going to live there. The character of the neighborhood is going to change a little bit. You know, it was originally kind of intended to be sort of a light industrial kind of artisan manufacturing kind of live work sort of place, and now it's going to be predominantly residential use. The circulation patterns of the streets and sidewalks and bike paths is unchanged. It's not going to change the streetscape. They're still going to have sidewalks and, you know, parking on street and, you know, nice landscaping. So again, the pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicle circulation is unchanged. All the buildings will have to go to architectural review. There's some sort of early renderings. A couple of buildings have already been through ARC review. All the infrastructure has been installed and approved by the city. Has a growth policy designation. It's split of the industrial, transitional, and the neighborhood mixed use, which came out of that Highway 93 West corridor plan. Under community benefit and justification for the proposed deviations, they are proposing to do up to 150 residential units. I'm sure you saw in the staff report that we did a little bit of math, and the only zoning that you can do residential on is the WT3, so that was kind of the area along the river there. And that's 8.701 acres, which equates to 122 units. So if they want to get up to 150, they need to provide 10% affordable housing. So we have recommended a condition of approval that either they build at the base density for the site or they enter into an agreement for affordable housing. And it sounds like, and the applicant can address this as well, that that is what their intent is to do, is to provide some affordable housing. So that would be an additional community benefit in addition to all the public access and open space and the trails and bridge and stuff. So staff is recommending approval of this PUD. And as we've done with all the other amendments, we just reference all the other PUDs, and they have gone through, again, final plat where a lot of the improvements were required. And then we are recommending one condition to either reduce the overall number to 122 units, which would meet the base density for the site, or enter into agreement to provide 10% affordable housing. Can I answer any questions for you?
I have a question, Wendy, just to clarify, because I think this would be very confusing if I hadn't seen this application a few times now. It has a lot going on, but we're only focusing on specific things now. So basically, this variance will allow them to kind of move things as they need to without having to come back to us again? Is that, I mean, like the 3,500 square foot between these two transitional zoning areas that they're in, so they could have the 3,500 square foot plus in either one of those. Does that make sense?
All the lots in that subdivision, except for one lot, you could have a building bigger than 3,500 square feet.
Okay.
So it was kind of an oversight, I think, when we changed the lot coverage to allow increased lot coverage, that we should have commensurately allowed a larger footprint.
So now in this one lot, they would
Is
be able
gonna-
to do that. It's a
Yeah.
total, yes, you can, wherever.
Well, each
Have
lot
that.
has, zoning and uses, and this particular lot, for whatever reason, it was gonna be a smaller footprint building, but then they ended up making the lot bigger and the lot coverage bigger, but they didn't make the building bigger.
Okay.
So they don't have to come back for a conditional use permit. They're just
Okay.
doing it now.
And this, did I read right, this application was like $3,000 to submit this? I'm looking at it and I'm like, they've been here so many times and they're like
Yeah.
working incrementally.
Yeah, it's an amendment to the PUD, and it's
Yeah.
like 75% of the regular cost.
And a lot of time to come back.
Yeah.
And then the 42-foot height restriction ability to build that high, they can just sprinkle that in
Yep,
throughout to make it more aesthetically
Yep.
appealing instead of all,
yep,
okay.
yep, all flat roof, 35 foot. Yeah, exactly. It's a design feature.
All right,
For
I
sure.
think that's all that I had. Thank you. John?
The affordable housing bit kind of slipped past me. So they have approval for 97 units now,
Correct.
and at 97, do they have to provide any
Nope,
affordable housing?
nope, they don't. And they could do 122 and they wouldn't have to provide any affordable housing.
And that's based on rules that we have.
Yep, the base density of the WT3 zoning. Yeah, it's 14 dwelling units per acre.
Okay, and to get up to 150, then they have to give 10%.
Affordable housing, and they're
Affordable.
either will,
And is that
And-
automatic, or could it be 20?
oh, they could always do more, but a minimum, they'd have to offer 10%.
Could the city require more than 10%?
No, the city cannot require more.
Okay.
Any other questions, staff? Phil?
I guess I'm stuck on signaling on Second and Carroll. When that does take place with the warrant from the state, will there be a warning light, say 1,000 feet to the east for truckers coming down this way so they can start slowing down if there's a signal, a red signal, or?
I have no
Because
idea.
so they don't have to use Jake brakes or anything of that nature?
That's up-
It's just kind of like Rose
That's up to
Crossing
MDOT.
on 93 South?
Yeah, so the developer is working with the state, with MDT, on the signal design, and it will meet all of the state and federal requirements. So yeah, there'll be a signal ahead. I think it actually is more than 1,000 feet.
I was just
if
guessing.
you're coming eastbound because of the slope. But
Yep.
yeah, for sure.
Especially during winter, it's going to be a
Yeah.
little bit hairy. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Any other questions? Scott?
Yeah, one or two. So that T3, is that right? Is it T3? Is that?
Yeah,
was I hearing that
WT3,
correctly? So that adds what, 4 additional feet upwards? Is that,
No, it goes from 35 to 42, so 7 feet.
all right. Is that what is going on out that Ruiz project, like at Baker and 18?
No, that's different. So the WT3, this is the only place it's located in all of City of Whitefish. The Mick Ruiz's project on 40 is part of our legacy home incentive projects. If you provide affordable housing, you can go up to 40 feet. And so he's providing 20% affordable housing over there. And so he's able to go from 35 to 40 feet.
That was my question, so, okay. And at one point, is the stormwater consideration that close to the river taken into, is it been in the engineering, is it?
Yeah, all that stuff has been approved by the city. It's
That's
all
all
been
been
done.
approved?
Yep.
So how is the wastewater managed that comes off of there and into the river? Is there retention and,
Yeah, there's a fully engineered stormwater management plan. I believe there's some retention as well as treatment, from all those parking lots. The wastewater comes directly to the Whitefish wastewater plant, but all of that work has been completed for quite some time.
yeah, I walked by there.
We reviewed and approved those plans in 21 or 2, and all of that work has been completed.
So there is some treatment of that?
Yes.
Okay, good. And so would that be, we've been talking about this M4, which the standard that, we will try and achieve when we hit 10,000 or whatever it is. Would it be that compliant or not?
Yeah, it will be. This will this will be a private discharge, so it won't be one of the city's MS4 points of discharge, but it will meet those same requirements, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Rebecca, go ahead.
So this is a substantial change from what they came in with and got approved for. And so I'm just wondering, does this public process, is that enough notice for the public? Because that's a lot of residential, and it was supposed to be partially commercial. And now they're moving things around on this, now they're moving things around on the site without anybody knowing where they're going to put them. So when do we wonder about the public, not that there's a big concern tonight, but about just noticing the public about changes if it's significant from what we started with?
So I did notice all the neighbors within 150 feet. The application was put online. We put a legal in the paper. I mean, the neighbors have been noticed. And then there are provisions in our PUD chapter that if the zoning administrator, Dave, determines that they're minor, he can approve them. If they're major, they come back here. That's why they're here tonight, because these things were major enough that they warranted a public hearing.
I just wanted to make sure it was legal. And then with the traffic study, is the traffic, so I emailed these guys earlier, but I'm still confused. The traffic study is based on the 97 units, or is it based on the current proposal?
Yeah, we asked them for an updated traffic
Okay.
study based on the new units, the new proposal, yeah.
And then Craig, you said that the MDT won't be building that light until something is built, the marketplace?
Yeah, so the developer has an agreement with the state that once the warrant is met for the light, it will be installed, and they have bonding. I don't know if it's bonding or letter of credit. We have a bond from the developer to construct that light. The interesting aspect of that is now that the new proposal might likely not meet the warrants for the traffic signal. So I still think, based on the agreement, when that traffic signal is warranted in the future, we can still call that bond and require the developer to build it. It's just that it could be several years down the road after, no pun intended, after this project is constructed.
Wow, I think that could add pretty big safety risks to the town. So we don't have any way to work around that?
Well, no, I think we're still safe. I mean,
Okay.
the original proposed project was about 4,500 additional vehicle trips per day. What they're now proposing goes down to 1,500, and I'm sure you guys are prepared to talk about this in a little more detail. But nonetheless, the original subdivision and PUD that we approved keeps that money in place so that we can put that signal in.
Okay, all right. Thanks, I'm sorry I got so confused about all that.
All right, any further questions? John, for staff? Go ahead.
Could we add a condition to approval of this?
I mean, we're already
Yeah.
holding a financial guarantee, and it was part of the subdivision.
Are we still talking about the signal?
I'm thinking affordable housing, but
Okay.
Well, that is condition number
first,
2.
generally, can we add a condition to approval?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for.
Okay,
And the affordable housing is is condition number 2.
yeah. But that's following the formula.
Yep. Which
So
is.
could we add a condition requiring, say, 20%?
No.
That was challenged, okay. Okay, and I'm curious what the minimum size is for the units, how many square feet? Do you have any units under 1,000 square feet per unit?
The Legacy Home Program has a whole chart on how big and small the units need to be considered for the affordability. But I'm sure the architect could probably give you a range of how size. But we do have minimums.
Yeah, I'm wondering for this project, what they're planning.
All right, so yeah. Thank you for patiently sitting there. Any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, we'll now open the public hearing and start with you guys. The applicant or representative, please come up and tell us your name and what you're hoping to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron Wallace, Principal Architect for Montana Creative Architecture and Design. I'm the representative for the development here tonight. Just a little bit background history of kind of why we're back here again. So the previous, or actually, the developer that was here before for the project took everything through and was moving forward with the whole project until about a couple years ago when the project was no longer deemed feasible at that point. And about 2 years ago, the project was put on the market. Final construction aspects kind of delayed a little bit, and we didn't receive final plat until this summer. At that point, when we were told to stop about 2 years ago, we had 4 buildings ready for permitting, just waiting for final plat. We had a 5th building that was about 75% complete. So at that point, everything was put on hold, see what we've got out on the market. no real big interest, okay? So that kind of is sitting there and growing weeds, as we've seen. So the underlying group that was the development has come back and retaken it over. And as part of that process, we started to evaluate what was going to work and what wasn't. The underlying base program of the project were this industrial aspect, commercial office space, marketplace, live-work thing, just doesn't pencil. And 2 years in the market kind of supported that information. So we took a look at it and said, what will work there? And the thought is that monthly, high-end, also affordable type rental units in kind of a resort type setting would be the best applicable use. It's a destination element or location. It's not drive-by. It's a nice, beautiful site along the river. A lot of great aspects of things. And really not far off from what we originally proposed a lot of it. So when we looked at it, we said, well, the number count that makes sense is to have 150 residential units. The owners would keep it, hold it. They'd then go, those units would be out for monthly rent. And then we would also develop Lot 6 as it was originally all programmed for a 70-unit hotel too. So that's the kind of the base program with a nice amenity package and features like that. As we were started working with the developers, like, okay, Dave, how, you know, we were basically going to come back and forth between Dave's office quite a bit. Said, okay, how do we make this all work? Well, Dave and Wendy outlined that this is going to need, with the more density, we're going to need to come back for amendment to the PUD. And as part of that process, as I started getting, so I wasn't involved, and our firm wasn't involved with the project until 2022, we started to look at some of the stuff and the initial things that was originally proposed and planned and approved in the PUD, and there's a couple kind of checkmark things we just wanted to take care of. So like Lot 3, as we outlined, Lot 3 was originally a very small lot. Well, in one of the amendments, it changed size to quite a bit bigger, but it didn't get the allowed square footage coverage change at that same point too. So we looked back and said, well, Wendy, unfortunately, this one's still only at 3,500 square feet, despite the lot now being 3 times the size as when it was originally approved. So just kind of a laundry list of things and items like that. Same thing with parking. It just didn't make sense to sit there and be held to the new standard or old standards as kind of the way it listed. It was like, okay, how many parking spots are required? So let's just make sure it's all according to the current standards. That seemed to make sense. And then the way the zoning works is actually, it's almost, if you take a look at it, it diagonally splits the overall site between a left and right. One's one zone, one's the other. One allows you to go up to 42 feet if you have a 712 pitch over 35 feet. The other half doesn't. So to this, trying to, as a design style, and add some stuff and make it simpler throughout the entire project. In fact, that rule splits one of our buildings down the middle. So which rule reclaimed by, let's just try to make these things simple. And so those are kind of the laundry list of smaller items that we're just trying to adhere to. For the overall density count, yes, the plan is to, at this point, is to have 150 units. 14 of them on lot that we've already kind of basically designed that are ready for permit are 2 buildings that are townhouse type looking units. There's 14 units all over between the 2 buildings of that. Those would be planned on being deed restricted. They're 1 and 2 bedroom units. There's 3 stories with internal garages. They're actually quite nice units. And they're going to be looking pretty cool. And then we'd have to fill out the balance with some cash in lieu to get up to that 150 because we'd rather segment those 2, easily to do, separate. It's on its own property, and we can kind of move forward with the rest of the development accordingly. So that's kind of the process where we sit right now. The reason why we're here at this point without a fully developed size and site and everything else like that is that, you know, they want to make this transaction happen. It's based on this approval, kind of know what we're exactly playing with. But the overall, the streets are in, curbs are in, the buildings, we're not asking for anything else different. It's just kind of how we're going to use those buildings. As Craig outlined, the traffic count goes way down from what was originally proposed for the project, from about 4,500 trips per day to 1,500. It's much more residential in character, which I think fits much more into that neighborhood and area. More of a destination thing for people. All the trails, all the open green space, everything else stays like that the same. That's kind of the plan. So really it's just kind of how we're going to use it versus, and adhering, excuse me, I think much more to the area than was really intended. If you look back at the original work study group and stuff like that for the West Corridor planning and everything else like that, I just read, I wasn't involved in that, but I kind of read through it and I think you can kind of read between the lines and say, yeah, I don't really know what kind of fits your best. You know, it's kind of this weird anomaly set out in the center of the river, great site and stuff like that, but is it's really best used to be used for industrial moving into the future. So that's my spiel. Happy to answer any sort of questions that you guys may have.
All right, thank you. Anybody have questions for Aaron? Go ahead, John.
Great. So you have 14 units of affordable housing.
Correct.
Are any of them under 1,000 square feet?
No.
How big are they?
Those were planned, let's see, they're 20 by 40 or 30, 600, about, you know, they're about 1,500 square feet, 12 to 1,500 square feet is 1,200 square feet for the smaller ones, 1,500 square feet for the 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
Yep.
Becky? Rebecca?
Okay, is the bridge still up, going in?
That's still the plan.
Okay. And I think we got it okayed, right?
We have approval from Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. We're still waiting on the easement from DNRC. DNRC
Oh,
requires
okay.
that we have an easement for the airspace above the river, but all the permits have been applied for.
Okay, thanks. And then what about the railroad cars spending the night there? Is that out now?
Yeah, so
Okay.
early in 2020, middle of summer 2022, when they started moving some dirt out there, BNSF came out and pulled the tracks.
Oh, okay.
So we don't
All
have
right.
that option anymore.
How are things going with the Peace Park? Any development change, anything changing there?
Not really that, to my knowledge. We know we need to put up a fence per our agreement, hopefully this year, and that's about the extent of that.
Okay. And have you guys thought at all about working with the Community Land Trust for them to hold the land on the affordable units?
That hasn't been part of the discussion at this point, but it's early on in the process, so we'll be exploring all those type of things.
Yeah, it's kind of a really nice model for affordability. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Toby?
A few questions about the entire complex. You're going to have a hotel on it?
Yes, that's always been part of the program. So on Lot 6, which is kind of at the point of the bend in the river right there, has
Okay.
been designated and always been approved for a 70-unit hotel.
Yeah. Is the hotel going to have a restaurant?
Undecided at this point. It would be part of the hotel project. Not really at this point. It is not the plan, but we haven't engaged a hotel operator at this point, so depending on what they say, we often see that might be the case. Per our previous approvals, a restaurant can be a portion of the hotel.
Okay, so there is the available
There's
space.
the availability of it. Yeah.
Is there any provision for any sort of commercial, I guess, retail? You know, a 7-Eleven, although we don't allow 7-Elevens, but nevertheless, a small Alpine Marcus food line?
There is part
place
of the
or anything
original
like that?
proposal and part of the PUD that has been previously approved, part of those pieces. That's not part of the current program though. But the developer is just getting their fingers into things a little bit and finding stuff out. And could that be added back in? Possibly. If we did that, just because of the base size square footage that we're talking about, residential units would be pulled out. So, you know,
Oh.
it's not 150 plus all that stuff. There's only so much space that we have affordability to.
Okay.
So if we decided to add any sort of feature like that in there, that's already approved, we'd have to pull out some residential units.
Then another question. Since it is going to be so much residential, do you have any open space, playground, or bicycle storage, anything like that?
Yes,
that,
I think
is
there's a ton of open
required?
space, and there's be quite a bit of amenity package. And so, besides the internal units, the units themselves will have some internal storage. There is also quite a bit of public use space for. Yeah, we have a big amenity package planned for outside barbecue pits, some pools, playground area space, those type of features. Yep.
So is the residential units, they're going to be individual units, but are they going to be part of like an HOA or something?
These are
So
gonna be
that there
all
would be a
held by-
common barbecue and gathering area,
Right,
something
this
like
is
that?
actually, these are going to be for rent. They're not going to be for sale at this point, so they're just going to be one ownership group for
Okay.
the whole thing. So you kind of rent as part of the apartment complex.
I see.
Yep, monthly rentals.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have a question about the bridge. Can you
Go ahead.
just describe that in a little more detail? What is it? What does it connect? What's
Right. So if you, on the site plan, there's actually, I walk by it every day from our office, but further to the east, on the kind of the east corner of the property, there's always been a bridge planned to connect from this side of the river, from our development side, over to the bike trail path on the other side. BNSF kind of is on the back side of that, on the north side of it. It's a bridge that we felt is a needed connection between this development, which is quite substantial, and the rest, and easy access to downtown, making it a walkability thing factor, and also to expand the trail aspect and the bikes be able to get across there. You can see how they would hit across our development down Carroll, and then be able to go left or right or south off of Carroll then at that point. So it's just a really nice connection feature that kind of improves movability in the city that way.
We've been talking a lot about emergency evacuation routes. Is that part of any sort of a fire or railroad disaster response?
Not the bridge itself, because it really doesn't go anywhere except to the Whitefish Trail, and it butts right into kind of where the BNSF land is. So, but there is a secondary access that kind of goes off of the southwest corner of the site, kind of to the north side of the, or west side of the Peace Park, or the south side of the Peace Park.
You mean back out to 90?
Yeah, it kind of swings back. It's part of the original PUD. They've got a chain on there, so it's not a normal access, but over a certain number count, we're required to have a secondary access. That's why that's in there.
So it's a pedestrian bridge, but would it allow for emergency vehicles to cross, or is that not the plan?
That's not the plan.
Okay.
Real quick, Aaron, the city, the fire department does have a side-by-side, which has basic life supporting, apparatus on it, a backboard, a AED, first aid, and that piece of equipment will be able to go across the bridge, as it does with the Sky Park Bridge that we did, about 10 years ago. So it's
real similar.
It's going to look very similar. It's built by the same company and has the same characteristics.
Thanks, Craig. Mallory?
So I just have a question, and I'm not super familiar with the iterations. You mentioned that you have to build a fence in connection to the Peace Park. Can you just explain that to me a little bit so that I have an understanding of what you were talking about there?
Yeah, part of the original agreement with the Peace Park, and because there's a portion of this site for parking that is actually still underneath Zinke's and the Peace Park ownership, which is all the stuff which went into the papers, this piece. And as part of their easement agreement, they wanted to have a fence put up in between the edge of our parking and the Peace Park itself. Now, it's not a full fence where that parking is actually part of usage for the Peace Park. So it's not like a wire fence or anything else like that. It will have openings, but they just wanted to have some security and privacy between that.
So it'll allow connectivity and
Correct.
so there will be an easy flow, especially if commercial does become more a part of your property at some point.
Yes,
right?
that's one of our first tasks as we get into this, is to actually design that fence.
Okay,
So
cool.
we wanted to figure out what the rest of the buildings look like and not design that first.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? Go ahead, Rebecca.
Who does own it now? Who are the owners? Are they local, or are they out of state, or is it a
They're out
group?
of state. Whitefish Carroll, I guess I can tell you I'm a little bit fuzzy on everything right now. So, but Up Development out of Orlando has been the primary leaders as the new development team. So, yep.
So would that take Casey out then?
At this point in time, just recently, Casey is not planning on being involved moving forward.
All right, thank you, and I want to thank you for your letter. June 2nd, it was very nicely written and explained so much of this, so thank you for that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I just stole
I
it from the one
appreciated
before,
that.
too. We've been through it 4 times, so.
Thank you.
I
yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Come on up if you do. All right. Seeing no other public comment on this, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll turn to the board for a motion on this.
I move to approve WPUD 25-1 as stated.
Second.
There it is.
All right, so there's been a motion and a second to approve this with the 2 conditions as Wendy has listed. Any discussion before we vote? All right, all in favor of approval, raise your hand.
I guess I would say one thing,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
And it's probably not necessarily relevant, really, but, I'm just remembering that this was a defunct timber mill, kind of an industrial albatross, that we're now looking at something that I think does benefit the community. It's been a long road, but I think that this is a good thing for that spot, and I hope that developers keep that in mind, that, this is an asset to our community. So, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. I agree. Every time I pass it on a canoe, I'm so excited, but I've been that way for like 5 years now, so please give me something. All right, thank you, guys. We'll go ahead and vote. Everyone in favor, say aye.
All right.
With your hand up. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. All right. And the last item on our agenda is WSUB 25-01. And this is a subdivision text amendment, and we will hear from Wendy for this.
I handed out a staff report with an exhibit. I realized Word, when you have track changes and turn it into a PDF, it just accepts everything when you turn it into a PDF. So you weren't able to see my underlines and crossouts, so we can go through them all, and I apologize for that oversight. So this month, we're looking at bills that were passed by the legislature at the last legislative session related to subdivision. Next month, we're going to look at zoning items, so instead of cramming them all into one meeting. So there are 3 bills that passed that are related to our subdivision regulations. Senate Bill 553, House Bill 233, and House Bill 714. And they are related to parkland and subdivision exemptions. Senate Bill 553 clarifies that a subdivider can make a contribution of both land and cash, which I think we've always allowed, but this just clarifies that. House Bill 233 establishes a process where an HOA can petition the city council to have parkland that's been dedicated to the city revert back to the HOA. In visiting with the parks director, we couldn't quite understand. I think it's probably one person had one issue in one part of one city. And so now there's a bill for all of us. And then there's some clarifying language for subdivision exemptions. So we are recommending approval of Exhibit A. And there were a couple of typos as well. We've updated you folks to the Community Development Board from the Planning Board. And so there's just a couple of, I think a couple of those that needed to be fixed. But we've added the, starting on page 8 of Exhibit A, K is new, talking about after a final subdivision has been recorded, an HOA can file a petition to the council asking for the council to revert that property back to the HOA. I don't know under what circumstances why an HOA would, maybe they feel like they can manage it or want to maintain it in a particular fashion. I don't think this is going to be something we'll see in the city of Whitefish, but the process is there. And then on page 10, at the top, under B, if a subdivider does not choose a cash donation only, that they could work with the park board and figure out whether they want to do a combination of land and cash, which is something we've done for folks when they've had small areas that they want to dedicate, but their parkland dedication requirement is bigger. So that's on page 10. And then page 14, just some clarifications with subdivision exemptions, which we generally just don't see too often here. Not for family transfers, it's just not something that we typically see. But again, it's something that was updated in state law, and as previous city attorneys have recommended that we have that in our subdivision regulations mirror the state law. And then the final item on page 15 is a definition of homeowners association. And this is, again, part of the, if a homeowners association wants to have a park dedicated back to them, we didn't have a definition of homeowners association, so we're just adding that into the subdivision regulations now. So that's it. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Wendy. Any questions for
I do.
Wendy? Toby?
On the first page, it says all the changes are in red, but
Yeah,
they
they're
seem to
actually
be
in blue. I know. I
Is
realized
that-
all of this,
So everything that is not in black is a change.
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a last minute realization that that wasn't in there.
Any other questions for Wendy on this?
So are these dedicated parklands a burden on the city of Whitefish? I mean, in terms of maintenance and that sort of thing?
You'd have to ask Maria in the Parks Department and the Parks Board.
Sure, I understand. Okay, I'll leave it there, thanks.
Yeah, I can say.
All right. Any other questions on this? Okay. And public hearing, crickets? No. All right, we've opened and
Crickets.
closed the public hearing on this, and we'll now turn for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve WSUB 25-01 as presented by the staff report with the changes indicated, underlined.
I second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to recommend this for approval. All in favor? Anybody have any discussion on this? All right, none. All in favor of this, raise your hand. Okay.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes to recommend this zoning text for amendment. And we are finished with our agenda items. On to good and welfare. Any matters from the board tonight? Okay, Rebecca, thanks for coming. Do you prefer Rebecca or Becky? I like both. Okay, I've called you both tonight, so thank you.
Up till 30, everybody called me Becky, so it's kind of like an endearing thing. But, and my whole family and all my old friends do. But then when I started working professionally, I went by Rebecca, so it's fine.
Depends on whether we're addressing you professionally or personally.
I mean, I know you personally, so that's why.
There we go.
It's just my
Okay.
neighbor. So, yeah, that's fine.
All right, well, thank you for being here, Becky. Okay, and I think that's it from the board. Anything else? Okay, matters from staff? None?
Who's going to be here in August?
We're going to have a big meeting,
Who's gonna be here in August?
7 items.
Okay,
Seven what?
Minutes really fast.
2021, August 21st is this
She's saying we're
meeting.
having a big meeting next time.
Yes.
Okay, don't let that scare you off.
Seven of something. Okay.
You can do it.
Oh, boy.
Are they all variances? Good.
Does anyone know that they will not be here in August? Okay, Phil will not join us.
I'll be here.
I think the rest of us will. All right, so we should
Yeah, I
have
think I'll be
6,
here.
if Frank can be here, or Rebecca, either one. Okay. All right, and I don't think we need to discuss any of the agenda or dates from last night. We covered that thoroughly, so we're good on the growth policy. All right, 6 PM Wednesday, August 20th is our next meeting for that. And I will adjourn this meeting if somebody will give me a second.
I'll
Second.
second.
All right, thank you all. Have a good night.
Okay, let's see.
How was last night?
Good job, Lauren.
Controversial,
How was it?
as it often is, yeah.
Did you guys, how long did you stay there then?